What's up, everyone? Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button and that notification button for more updates, and check out my other movie reviews as well as my short films that I've created over the time, and continue to create short films. If you like short independent films, please check out my material. Leave a thumbs up on any of my videos if you like them, as well as comments. I will get back to you. Keep it professional, and let's get straight to it. Finally, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, my spoiler review. Again, as I've mentioned, my spoiler reviews, I don't get too much into details on the filming aspect of it, just what I've seen, what I've enjoyed about it, what I didn't like about it. So this isn't like a very technical, in-depth review, but my rating for Ghostbusters Frozen Empire is a solid 7.0 out of 10. I really enjoyed the film. I liked it a lot compared to Afterlife and Frozen Empire. If I had to choose my favorite of the two, Afterlife is my favorite, but Frozen Empire was a solid sequel. I would say it's in the vein of Ghostbusters 2 as it is to Ghostbusters 1, which Ghostbusters 1 is my favorite film of the entire franchise. Definitely enjoy it more than... I like both Ghostbusters 1 and 2 the same, but if I had to choose 1 and 2, it's 1. And if I had to choose Afterlife and Frozen Empire of this new Ghostbusters series, which are sequels to the other two, it would be Afterlife over Frozen Empire. I will do another video which I will rank my Ghostbusters films, even including 2016. But I will say Ghostbusters Frozen Empire was enjoyable. There were things that I disliked, and I'll get to that in a bit. But as far as what I've seen, it was great to go back to New York. It was great to have the OG cast in a bigger role than Afterlife, which made sense. Afterlife didn't have the OG cast throughout the film, and I thought that was a perfect fitting. They didn't need to be in the film, but to have them in more of a bigger role within this sequel, I liked it. I think, again, the OG cast, it's not about them, it's about the Spengler family. So, and Paul Rudd's Gary Gruberson, and their connection with each other, and then taking over the family business, or as far as Egon Spengler's part of the franchise, because of course Ernie Hudson's Winston, he's the one involved with the money making aspect of getting the Ghostbusters franchise out there, and this new part of the organization where they have an engineer, and they have a side section where they study the ghosts and just equipment and stuff. And I thought that was pretty cool. It's expanding the Ghostbusters, which was mentioned in the first one, how Peter wanted to, he sensed the franchise going above and beyond, expanding from just New York. And we're finally kind of seeing that start with the engineer, and, they have a side section where they do things. So I thought that was pretty cool. I believe in the third one, if we get another one, which I would hope, and I think we would get a third one, we kind of see more of that expansion. Ghostbusters International, perhaps they go overseas. Maybe focused on new characters of a spin-off, if it's just other elsewhere other than New York. But it was great to see the cast all back and have them in New York now. And we got to see Peck back. He's the mayor now. I thought that was cool to see him back. Slimer, he was in maybe 2 scenes. It was great to see Slimer back. Of course, he never had a big role in the other films, other than the first Ghost in Ghostbusters 1, and then he kind of appeared in Ghostbusters 2. Aside from the real Ghostbusters, which, of course, Slimer has a big role in the cartoon, and then they made a sequel to the real Ghostbusters called Slimer and the Ghostbusters, which focused more on him, I would say. I believe that's why they called it Slimer and the Ghostbusters. I was young when I saw Slimer and the Ghostbusters. I believe they focused it more on him, but of course the Ghostbusters. But, I bring that up because Frozen Empire was more heavily made to be like a real Ghostbusters episode, and it did feel like a real Ghostbusters episode. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was cool that they kind of tied that in, that feel, as well as you had the tie-in with Ghostbusters 2. People didn't think Ghostbusters 2 was focused like Afterlife is to Ghostbusters 1. They figured maybe Ghostbusters 2 was written out, but nope, Ghostbusters 2 is part of the franchise, which I thought was great to include and let people know. No, Ghostbusters 1, Ghostbusters 2, then Afterlife and Frozen Empire follow. So I thought that was cool. We got that little tie-in with both the cartoon and Ghostbusters 2, the cartoons and Ghostbusters 2, and I enjoyed the cast. I think Phoebe is a great character. Egon's granddaughter, his daughter, the mom. I forget the character's name, played by Carrie Coon. I enjoy her. I think she's fun. Of course, Paul Rudd. I don't have complaints with Paul Rudd. He's awesome as an actor. He's great comedy actor, and I just like seeing his presence on screen. And as Gary Gruberson, I'm cool that he's a Ghostbuster and that he's involved with his family. And then you have Trevor, who's probably my least favorite of the characters, played by Finn Wolfhard. He's just there. I feel like even in Afterlife, he didn't have a big role compared to the others. I just felt like he was there. Can do without him in the next film, send him away to college, or give him a bigger role, even if it's with Phoebe, because Phoebe seems to be the main character of all of them, and I just hate that he's there. It just bothers me that we have a Finn Wolfhard who's, we know from Stranger Things. He has pretty much of a big role, and he's just kind of a throwaway in this Ghostbusters franchise. And I felt like he was gonna have a bigger role when, in Stranger Things, the costume that he wore was Ghostbusters, and then they cast him as Ghostbusters, but he doesn't really do much. So it's kind of like, let's do something with that character, because he's just pointless to me. Even podcast, I wish he would have had actually he did have a bigger role than I thought he would. I could have sworn I read a review where he hasn't seen much, even the OG Ghostbusters, and they're seen pretty throughout the film. They have big roles, but I would have liked to see podcast in more of a Ghostbuster role than just hanging with Ray and, hanging around him and just being there. I would like to see more from him. Podcast is a cool character, and even Lucky, kind of seeing her in the Frozen Empire was just like, did she need to be? I felt like she was just a one-off in Afterlife. In the ending, she turns into the dog, but she does don the suit in the proton pack and shoots Gozer at one point before she gets thrown from the stream and turned into a dog. But, she's back in this one, and to be honest, I was happy with her role because she was interning, and she seemed to have an even bigger role than Trevor, so I'm just like, you gotta do something with Trevor. But, to have Lucky back in that scene, doing the internship, I'm like, okay, that works. She's working with the whole engineering side of it. I thought that was cool. And then the new character, who's the engineer, the glasses, the blonde hair, I forget his name, the actor's name. I liked him. I should know who he is because I like the character, but I thought he was pretty funny, and I enjoyed him, and I would like to see him more in the sequel. And then you have Kumail as the Fire Master, and Patton Oswalt, who I was surprised I wasn't bothered by, because I'm not a fan of Patton Oswalt. And seeing him in a trailer, I'm like, but he had a small role, and I didn't mind the role. And even Kumail, I thought his character was cool with the idea of who he, being the Fire Master, and the start of the whole Frozen nonsense by Goraka trying to take over. It was because of him. But I will say, as much as I enjoyed the film, horror aspect and comedy aspect, I just wish the comedy could have been toned down with Kumail's character. And the scene when they're like facing Goraka in the firehouse, it's very intense and serious. And then he's coming down from the fire pole with the suit on, and he's like sliding down slowly, and it's just like, it just took away from me. I just wish the comedy was dumbed down from him because he was a little too, annoying at that point. But I didn't mind the character and what they were doing with the story with that. And I just wish they would have dialed back with the comedy on that. So that was my problem. There was a part where Ray and Winston go at it. More like Winston telling Ray, you're old now. Those are the golden years. You gotta move on. You're risking the kids' lives. And I seen it twice. I understand it more, but I just thought it was done in a way that it was like, despite going to the, it wasn't Ray's fault that the kids and him got attacked by the possessor ghost, into this lion statue that could have killed him and them. But it was like, Peck and Winston, it's like, they just got attacked and they had a reason to break down the lion statue that was possessed, because at one point it was like, that's the lion statue, that's a thing in New York from the public library that's, it's well known, and you destroyed it, and it was like, well, it was possessed by a ghost. Why are you coming at me? So I don't know, just the way it was discussed in that situation, it was like, I get what you're saying, Winston. Protect the kids and yourself. Those were the golden years. You can't do this anymore, or if that. But at the same time, you overlook the fact that the ghosts are still out there, and the reason, again, with the statue being destroyed was because they had to blast it before they got, killed by the statue. So it's like, the way it was handled, I didn't like it. Other than that, was another problem for me. But it was cool to see. But again, stuff like that, I'm just like, it could have been written better. One thing that I missed, and surprisingly, I usually look out for these things, is continuity error. And I did see it I saw my cousin the first time, the second time with my friend. She mentioned continuity errors that I didn't even see. So, of course, that's a problem for me. With any film, continuity errors, of course, it's not that big a deal, because if I didn't catch it, obviously I'm watching the film. But stuff like that, you want to do better with continuity errors, continuity within the film, because it does kind of take away from the overall aspect of the film itself for me. But again, I love the film. 7.0 is my rating. But if I'm to be honest, these are the little things that I don't like within the Ghostbusters sequel to Afterlife. I think Afterlife was just made better and handled better with that, and I give Afterlife a 9.5. I might have given it a 9.5 in the review that I did for it, and if not, I definitely bump it up to 9.5. But I like the film. I would say also dial down with the family aspect already. Now we've got it twice. Phoebe, she wants to be a Ghostbuster, but she's young, and it's like, it's kind of weird seeing her having to do this, and it's like, you're still young. You're not 18 like Trevor, which I guess that's a good age to be a Ghostbuster. But my thing with her, she couldn't, I guess, realize that, and they're trying to protect her, Gary and her mom, and it's like, it's true, we had you helping us bust ghosts, but at the same time, it's risky. You're still young, and at that point, you should be in school. Like, why are you out there busting ghosts? I didn't mind the fact that she kind of took her spirit out of her body to join the other character, who was the spirit who, she died in a fire, and her family, and she just couldn't move on, apparently, and that's why she's, in I forget where she was at, where she meets Phoebe's character, but she's utilized by Garaka for some reason, to take control of Phoebe, or to lie to Phoebe to kind of help Garaka be unleashed. And she thinks Garaka, the ghost, she thinks he's going to help her move on, and to join her family in the afterlife, because she's stuck in this world as a ghost. I mean, for that, it's like, how do you, as a ghost, determine someone as Garaka, some being as Garaka who's evil? Like, how do you determine that being can help you? The writing on that, it was just a little like I didn't mind it, that side part of it. It was just, I thought, the handle of it was, I didn't like it. I would have at least like an interaction with Garaka and this ghost Carol, the character, communicating, and him, lying to her, and she's, naive and believes, but of course Garaka's trapped within the orb, so it's like, somehow the influence, I don't know. It just, that portion, I would have written it better, or have liked them to have written it better. But when I say written it better, because I do writing stuff, I do write my own stuff. But that, other than that, it was just like, I overlook it. Again, it doesn't bother me. But if I did want to get deep into that, these are the things that do bother me. So maybe I am getting a little technical on that aspect. But yeah, so that stuff I could see was a problem for certain people. But I know the critics, they've been pretty much crapping on Frozen Empire, and I don't think it's that bad of a film for them to be giving it low ratings. But again, to each their own, that's their opinion. I just think, some critics, they say things, and it's like, you're getting a little too crazy about it. But again, when it's your opinion, am I in the right to say that they're crazy with their critiques and stuff? So, but I enjoyed it, and I think people need to watch the films themselves instead of just listening to critics and say, I'm not gonna watch it then. But again, I give Frozen Empire a solid 7. I thought it was enjoyable. It has its problems, but it's I thought it was a cool sequel, and I do hope for another one. And I would like for Jason Reitman to, film it again. I mean, the new director, Gil, I believe it was his first name. I forget the name. The new director. And he did a good job, and it felt like a Ghostbusters film, but there were just things that, of course, like I said, continuity error and then the writing, and it just needed to be tweaked, and it could have been real solid. I like that the fact that in the trailer you see that the ice age, new ice age is happening. Seems to happen in New York, and I thought it was gonna happen right away. Garaka was gonna come, freeze up New York, and they'd have to be around New York trying to handle Garaka, and glad it started later in the film, and because it would have been early on in the film, I don't know how I would have received that, just seeing ice throughout the movie. Like, what's going on? How do you handle that? Where's the military? Because if it's just New York, it's not the whole world yet. There's got to be militaries coming throughout, soldiers and stuff. Like, are they gonna have scenes like that? But it was handled well. I like that it was later on in the film and not soon. So I know for the third one, what I would like to see, or the fifth film of the franchise, I would like to see less of the family dynamic. I don't know if maybe I want to see new Ghostbusters as far as characters who are hired, and get rid of Trevor. I don't really care for Trevor. He's off to college with Lucky, who decided to go off to college and quit the internship. Maybe we can have, from the engineer, we have a new character that helps him. People complain about an overexpansive characters and there's just too much going on. No, that's fine. You don't have to have the OGs back. I think I don't need to see Peter back. I don't need to see. I think Reyes and Winston are integral parts of the franchise now. I think I'd rather see them in small, the same type of roles. Janine, it was great to see her. I don't think I need to see her again in the next film. But I would like to see more of or I would like to see less of the family dynamic. But I guess it's hard to say that because that's what the film focuses on with these characters. So we're gonna get more of Gary and Mom and Phoebe, which is fine. But characters like Trevor that go away, have another Ghostbuster that's actually involved in the Ghostbusting. If it's podcast, then have podcast step up and he's part of that role. I would like to see not just New York based Ghostbusters, maybe I would say a different city based Ghostbusters where they interact and eventually have to come together, and there's different things happening throughout the film that it kind of, and people might complain that it goes back and forth, but maybe that we need that. I would like to see that to kind of show that expanse, whether it's international or national, within the country, where New York and maybe LA or something, or New York and London. But I would like to see more of that expanse and just new characters donning the suit. And I guess part of me still thinks about Extreme Ghostbusters, where it was just a new group of teens or college students, and then you had the OGs from time to time. And the only OG helping the teens and the firehouse that was there was Egon. But I guess that's what I'm kind of drawn to also, is the Extreme Ghostbusters route. But of course we're not gonna get that. So I like what we have. I just, for some reason, just them, I just feel like there needs to be more, different characters, not just focused on them. And I guess the best way to do that, which was another aspect that I would like to see in the next film, is them involved, just like in a video game, where they actually go to the other side, or this, I want, not universe, but I guess planes. They're like in the ghost world. I guess I would like to see that, and maybe we can see the ghost world as like a travel destination ish. So if they're here in New York, maybe somehow within the ghost world they end up also in London and they get together. That's how the other, the international can meet up with the big bad. I don't know. Maybe take cues from the video game if they have to. Just have the Spengler family involved in that instead. I think the Ghostbusters game was awesome. That was my original third film, and I don't know. Maybe they could take a cue from that in the next film. I know there was originally a third script called Ghostbusters Hellbound, which they would have kind of been in a version of Hell called Manhattan, and there would have been like a Donald Trump figure that was like the main bad. It sounded bad, the script, but maybe they can utilize that script Ghostbusters Hellbound and just switch it up, change it, but kind of do that Ghost World ish. I don't know, but I would like to see something different. I thought this was cool. Frozen Empire definitely was different. You want difference. Of course, there's gonna be similarities to the OG films, but I thought for what it was cool to see something new, just like Afterlife. So I would like to see that for another Ghostbusters film, and or if they're gonna do the spin-off that doesn't have to do with the Spengler family, I'm okay with that. So who knows? Maybe we'll get the third with the Spengler family to finish that trilogy, and then we'll get an international version that'll really like go into that aspect of what I'm thinking or I would like to see. So if you can't do it all in one movie, which obviously would be too much, then maybe split it up in that aspect. But that's all I can say with that. 7.0, I really enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. Solid fourth film for me within the franchise, and check it out for yourselves. Thank you so much for watching my review, and until next time, later.